What would you do if the most powerful creature in existence hatched in your arms, and nobody believed you? That is exactly the position Lin Shuang Han found herself in, and the world was about to find out exactly how wrong it was to doubt her. Every year, Kang Yong Academy holds the Bound Beast bonding ceremony. Students step into the wild beast hollow and walk out paired with a creature that will define the rest of their lives. Your beast is everything in this world, your weapon, your companion, your measure of worth. And this year, all eyes were on to girls. Su Yun Yan, the Academy's undisputed top beauty, blessed with talent so rare that teachers spoke her name in hushed reverence. And Lin Shuang Han, her equal in reputation, carrying something no one else in that courtyard could see. A second life? Because Lin Shuang Han was not simply a talented young student nervous about bonding day. She was the reincarnation of the supreme warlord, a woman who had already walked the martial path to its bitter, broken end. In her first life, she had bonded carelessly, chosen a weak, insignificant beast, and spent decades grinding away at a ceiling she never broke through. Her bound beast was cut down with ease. She herself fell during the beast surge, swallowed by a tide of monsters while the world burned around her. She had carried that failure with her across the boundary of death itself. This time, she would not repeat the same mistake. She entered the wild beast hollow with one goal locked in her mind. Deep inside that hollow, buried in her memories of the past life, was a bound beast with extraordinary growth potential. A small blue-ground bird, scrawny and unremarkable by any surface measure. But Lin Shuang Han knew what it would become. A phoenix, second in power only to dragons, waiting inside that fragile little body. She moved fast, cutting through the crowd of students, making straight for where she remembered it would be. And then something stopped her cold. A surge of pressure erupted nearby, vast and ancient, pressing against the air like a fist closing around the entire hollow. Lin Shuang Han turned toward the source and felt her breath catch. Meanwhile, the source of that pressure had no idea what was happening. There was darkness, then a chime, and then a voice that seemed to come from inside the darkness itself. Congratulations, host. You have been reborn as a dragon and are now bound to the divine rune system. Every time you level up, you earn one divine rune. The dragon, newly conscious inside a black egg, blinked into awareness and took a moment to piece together the situation. A beast rider world, a system, a dragon body, a hollow full of humans looking for creatures to bond with. The last part sat uncomfortably. All the dragon could do was hope that whoever reached the egg first was at least easy on the eyes. Lin Shuang Han reached the egg first. Dragon aura, she thought, hard hammering. This is actually a dragon egg. In the entire history of the beast rider world, dragons were the supreme existence, the creature every tamer dreamed of and none had ever claimed. She did not hesitate. She stepped forward and formed the bond. The egg erupted in brilliant golden light, and a small dragon rune brand burned itself into the skin of Lin Shuang Han's arm. She checked the egg's stats immediately, but the panel came up empty. Nothing. No species listed, no power level, no aura readable at all. The egg had not hatched yet, so she tucked it under her arm and walked out of the hollow. Inside the egg, the dragon felt the bond seal and pulled up the system panel with fresh curiosity. Current affinity, 3, level 1, must reach level before hatching. So it was going to be a girl, and the road to hatching started now. All right, the dragon thought, it is all up to you. Outside, the bonding ceremony had transformed into a spectacle. Su Yunyan stepped forward cradling the small blue-ground bird she had bonded with, and the crowd immediately erupted in mockery. A chicken? You bonded with a chicken? And then the bird threw its head back, and the sound that came out shook the walls of the academy. A phoenix cry, raw and piercing, a sound that had not been heard in living memory. Teachers froze. The principal drew a sharp breath. Then the room broke into wild excitement. Phoenix bloodline, a god-tier bound beast in the hands of a first-year student. Immediately, every eye in the room flung toward Lin Shuang Han. If Su Yunyan had bonded with something that powerful, what had the other top talent of the academy claimed? Lin Shuang Han stepped out calmly, holding the black egg. The crowd went silent, but not from awe, from confusion. The egg had no aura, no readable species, no visible power. The powerful figures who had converged on the academy from every faction in response to some celestial omen narrowed their eyes and probed the egg with their senses. Nothing. And then a student in the crowd made the connection. Wait, that omen just now, the phantom black dragon that split the sky in half. That wasn't from Lin Shuang Han. That was Su Yunyan's beast. Every powerful figure in the air above the academy suddenly understood. They had been looking at the wrong person. They pulled back, interest fading. Su Yunyan caught the shift and let the moment land on Lin Shuang Han like a blade. A dead egg, she said coolly, same as last time after all. But Lin Shuang Han only smiled, slow and cold. Bonded with a god-tier beast, she said, not that impressive. Su Yunyan's expression sharpened. How about a bet, then? 1 month from now, you and me, a duel. The loser leaves the academy. Before the principal could intervene, Lin Shuang Han accepted without a second of hesitation. 1 month from now, she said, I'll show the world who the real genius is. The teachers exchanged uncomfortable looks. The principal reached for her, too late. The bet was sealed. Over the next 3 days, Lin Shuang Han did not sleep. She placed the dragon egg into the incubation furnace, added nourishing fluid, and channeled her beast-riding energy into it hour after hour, without stopping. Inside the egg, the dragon felt the warmth rise around it like something being slowly coaxed awake. Experience climbing with every passing hour. 3 days, 3 nights. Lin Shuang Han's fingers were raw, her eyes hollowed with exhaustion. And then the egg began to crack. Fractures spread across the surface in sharp, branching lines. And Lin Shuang Han watched with her breath held and her fists pressed together. Come on, little one. I've staked everything on you. Inside, the system chimed. Level to reached. Congratulations, host. You have obtained a divine rune, devouring force. The dragon read the rune's description once, then again, and broke into a wide grin inside the shell. Absolutely broken. These rewards were going to be insane. The shell shattered. The dragon blinked into the light of a girl's dormitory, took in the unfamiliar surroundings, and was immediately scooped up by a pair of warm hands from behind. You really kept me waiting, little one. Lin Shuang Han lifted the hatchling up, looked it over from snout to tail, and felt pure joy spill across her face. Pure-blooded dragon. Then she paused. Black. She knew the bloodline hierarchy. Blue, red, white, purple, gold. Each color marking a step in power, each one more difficult to obtain than the last. In her past life she had once watched a Grandmaster Beast Rider command a golden dragon, unmatched across the entire world. And that was only gold. What did black mean? The thought hit her like cold water, as she pulled the little dragon into a hug tight enough that it wriggled in protest. She pulled out the beast meat she had prepared in advance and held it out. Hungry, little one? The dragon's eyes lit up instantly. It snatched a piece and tore into it without ceremony. Ding, devouring beast meat, maximum HP +1, eating boosted base stats. This world was already delivering on its promises. She checked its attributes a moment later and saw the words that made her go completely still. Ancient dragon blood, a bloodline on par with the primal beasts themselves. Lin Shuang Han made a silent vow in that dormitory room, surrounded by discarded stockings and the smell of roasted meat. No matter the cost, she would raise this creature to its fullest potential. 5 minutes later, once the dragon had finished eating its fill, Lin Shuang Han scooped it up and ran. Let's go. The dungeon is opening, and from now on, I'm calling you king. Outside, the dungeon plaza was already packed. Students, who had bonded in the hollow, had been sorted into classes over the past 3 days. Su Yunyan, naturally, had been placed in Class 1, the elite track reserved for the academy's finest. Lin Shuang Han, the girl who bonded with a dead egg, had been turned away by teacher after teacher until she landed at the very bottom, Class 9. Class 9's teacher, Zhou Xiaoyan, was pacing at the entrance when several students started snickering about the upset Lin Shuang Han. She's probably still sitting there trying to hatch that dead egg. Lin Shuang Han's best friend Xiaoqing was halfway through a sharp response. When Lin Shuang Han herself walked through the door, cradling something in her arms, the class felt quiet. Then the whispers started. What even is that thing? Some kind of ugly mutt? Lin Shuang Han answered with nothing but a cold smile. They had never laid eyes on a true dragon. How would they know what a hatchling looked like? Zhou Xiaoyan cleared her throat and addressed the class. Duration, 3 hours. Each beast you kill earns points. Top 10 scorers receive generous rewards. The class gave a quick collective acknowledgement and filed into the dungeon. Lin Shuang Han and Kane materialized in the middle of a mountain valley. Rocky ground stretching in every direction. Go get them, Kane. It's all on you. The dragon gave a firm nod. A rumble tore up from underground a second later, and something dark and fast burst through the earth, lunging straight at Kane's midsection. Watch out, that's a tunneling rat. It burrows. Kane had already moved. One dodge, one claw strike, clean through the body. Tunneling rat slain. Experience +3. Lin Shuang Han pumped her fist. Amazing. Keep pushing. We only have 3 hours. Then several more tunneling rats erupted from the ground at once. One of them was a higher level than Kane. Perfect. Kane threw its head back and let out a roar that carried the full weight of ancient dragon blood. The tunneling rats shrieked and curled flat against the ground, paralyzed with instinctive terror. Kane moved through them methodically, one after another. The experience flooded in. A glance at the system panel showed level 3 almost within reach. Kane picked up a carcass and started chewing, then immediately reconsidered. Terrible. Was this what dungeon rats tasted like? Lin Shuang Han rushed over with a portable roasting grill before the dragon could spit it back out. Hold on, let me prepare it properly. Once the meat was cooked through, it was a completely different story. Dang, devouring tunneling rat meat. Maximum defense +1. Defense this time, getting better. The ground heaved. A mass of earth exploded upward and something massive pulled itself free from below, claws raking across the stone floor. A level 7 tunneling rat king, its body 3 times the size of any rat they had faced. Its armor layered and dense. Kane, be careful. The level gap was wide enough to take seriously. The tunneling rat king charged and slashed wildly, and Kane kept moving, dodging each strike, landing claw swipes that barely scraped the surface. Direct attacks were useless against that armor. Lin Shuang Han scanned the creature and found the answer. The belly. No armor there at all. Kane launched for the exposed underbelly, and the tunneling rat king curled immediately, tucking tight, blocking the strike completely. Oh, come on. It can counter that too. The king uncurled and drove its claws across Kane's back before the dragon could recover. Lin Shuang Han cried out, but her voice cut short as she watched the wounds heal themselves. The gashes closed at a visible speed, fully healed within just a few breaths. Ancient dragon blood, regeneration powerful enough to outlast a 7-level gap. This changes everything. Kane, use the healing to bait it in. Take the hit, find the opening, then go for the belly. The dragon understood immediately. It turned and ran, offering its back as bait. The tunneling rat king lunged, claws sinking in, and the moment it overcommitted, Kane spun and drove a single dragon claw straight through the exposed underbelly. The king guttered and stumbled, turning to burrow underground and escape. Kane was already moving. One clean strike through the belly before it could sink into the earth. Tunneling rat king slain. Experience +30. Level risen to 3. 1 divine rune draw earned. Draw. Congratulations. You have obtained armor break strike. Each attack carries an 80% chance to ignore all defensive skills and armor, striking the body directly. Kane stared at the description and felt something close to disbelief. An armor-piercing divine rune at level 3. That was absolutely broken. Back at the plaza, teachers monitored the scoreboard as students began reporting in. Su Yunyan held a commanding lead with 17 points. Teachers nodded, satisfied. Principal Fang Yuan heaped on praise. That girl could become a master beast rider, maybe even grandmaster with proper guidance. Then someone mentioned Class 9. Every eye in the room swung to Zhou Xiaoyan, expecting embarrassment. She pointed at the scoreboard instead. Lin Shuang Han had just jumped to second place, 1 point behind Su Yunyan. The teachers stared in silence. Fang Yuan's expression flickered with something between disbelief and wonder. What they did not know was that the only reason she was behind by a single point was because she had spent so much time cooking for the dragon. Inside the dungeon, Lin Shuang Han and Kane ran headlong into a pack of bouncing stone beasts, small and fast and traveling in a swarm. They moved in groups and hurled chunks of stone as projectiles, and by the time Kane registered the first throw, they were already surrounded by dozens. Kane, watch the rocks. The dragon wove through the barrage, swatting stones aside, picking off one beast at a time with quick, precise strikes. Annoying, but the experience reward for clearing this many at once would be massive. As the last of the bouncing stone beasts fell, the rubble began rushing together. Chunks pulled toward each other, piling and fusing, building something much larger than anything they had fought before. Kane, watch out. That's a rock titan. Evolved form. Defense has been massively upgraded. Evolved form, so the dead beasts were just the first stage. Against any other bound beast, A rock titan's armor would have made the fight hopeless. But Kane had armor break strike. One claw connected and the rock titan's health dropped by more than half. The titan reacted with fury, hurling boulder after boulder, driving Kane back with sheer force. Lin Shuang Han spotted its weak point quickly, hit the glowing eyes in the front. Kane waited for the right moment, then slammed a claw directly into those luminous eyes. The rock titan came apart. Rock titan slain. Experience plus 30. Level risen to 4. Skill tree unlocked. 1 divine rune draw earned. Another draw already. Congratulations. You have obtained Primal Dragon Blaze. Unleashes an intensely hot stream of flame from your mouth, dealing ongoing burn damage. A fire breath skill. Finally an active offensive option. Kane tapped open the skill tree for the first time, and a massive jet black tree filled the mental panel. Its branches spreading out in every direction, almost too many to count. First branch unlocked. Rending Claw Slash. 20% chance to inflict bleeding. Target loses 1% maximum HP per second for 10 seconds. Good start, and it could be upgraded further with skill points. Beside the Rock Titan's remains, the palm-sized book shimmered into view. Lin Shuang Han's eyes lit up immediately. Insight tomes. Actually dropped from a beast kill. Pick them up, Kane. They boost experience fast. Low-tier Insight tome used successfully. Experience plus 20. Twice over. 40 experience from the books in one breath. Ding. Level risen to 5. First evolution now unlocked. The drowsiness hit without warning and Kane blacked out. 2 hours had passed since the dungeon opened. Most students had already withdrawn, their beasts battered to continue. They drifted back to the plaza, checking the scoreboard out of habit. Then they stopped. Lin Shuang Han was in first place. The scoreboard was not lying. The girl with the dead egg was sitting at the top of the list. Deep in the dungeon, King completed the first evolution alone in the silence of the Stone Valley. Its body was larger now, its frame more imposing, its scales harder and darker than before. A new evolution tree had appeared in the system, branching and complex, full of paths not yet taken. First branch selected, Iron Scale Barrier. Defense greatly increased, with a chance to reflect a portion of damage back at attackers. And then the draw. Congratulations! You have obtained Beast Speech. You can now understand the language of all beasts. A slow smile spread across the dragon's face. That was going to come in very useful. Lin Shuang Han found Kane after the evolution and lifted it into the air to get a proper look, laughing with pure delight. Heavier, scales so much harder. What happened to you in there? The dungeon's closing announcement rang through the air. 30 minutes left. Lin Shuang Han's expression sharpened. Kane, all out. Let's go. The two of them poured through the remaining dungeon, leaving almost nothing standing in their path. The score climbed at a furious pace. With 10 minutes left on the clock, Su Yunyun strolled out of the dungeon. First place was already hers. She figured, no point burning more time in there. She turned to ask the principal about the first place reward and caught a glimpse of the scoreboard. She checked it again, then a third time. Second place. Her name was in second place. Principal, something must be wrong with the dungeon. There is no way Lin Shuang Han isn't first. Fang Yuan checked his device and shook his head helplessly. No anomalies. The dungeon is running perfectly. When time ran out and Lin Shuang Han was teleported back, she looked at the scoreboard and nearly jumped. First. Of course they were first. Su Yunyun stormed over immediately. You cheated. There is no way that weird beast of yours could get first place. That just shows how little you know. Lin Shuang Han said calmly. My beast is far stronger than yours. Principal Fang Yuan stepped between them, expression firm. Enough, young Yan. You've gone too far. The results stand. He turned to Lin Shuang Han. Shuang Han, congratulations on first place. Come with me. Su Yunyun watched them walk away, burning with resentment, unable to say a single word. Inside Principal Fang Yuan's office, he set down the first place rewards and tried to reconcile what he was seeing with what he knew to be possible. Shuang Han, is this your bound beast? I have never seen anything like it. What species is it? It's a juvenile dragon. Fang Yuan drew a sharp breath, then let it out slowly. In the entire Shuangyu continent, not a single dragon had ever been documented. He looked at the little creature in her arms and quietly concluded that the pressure must have gotten to her. He produced the rewards without further comment. 1,000 herb bomb, clarity elixir, insight fruit, and a protection charm. Lin Shuang Han accepted with a grateful bow and held the hall out for Kane to inspect. Our rewards. Not bad, right? The dragon reached for the inside fruit on instinct. That was when a massive shape stepped out from behind the principal, and the temperature in the room seemed to drop. An azure thunder tiger, lightning arcing quietly across its golden-striped body. A near-divine beast, the principal's own companion. The tiger fixed its gaze on Kane and let out a low growl. Oh, there's a little lizard here. Thanks to Beast's speech, every word landed clearly. Kane's eyes narrowed. Oh, you want trouble, because I am not backing down. The azure thunder tiger stepped forward and unleashed a crushing wave of pressure that filled the room like a hand pressing down on everyone inside. Kane launched into the air. The ancient dragon aura detonated outward, vast and ancient and absolute. The azure thunder tiger, proud just a moment before, dropped flat on the floor like a frightened kitten. Principal Fang Yuan felt the pressure crush the breath from his lungs, too. That's enough, Kane. Lin Shuang Han's voice was sharp. The dragon aura pulled back inside, and the room could breathe again. Lin Shuang Han apologized quickly and guided Kane out of the office. The moment the door closed, Fang Yuan dropped straight to the floor. The azure thunder tiger managed to lift itself off the ground after a long moment, its legs trembling, its eyes wide with pure, unmasked fear. What in the world, the principal whispered to himself, was that thing? The next morning, Zhou Xiaoyan assembled Class 9 for the spiritual energy assessment. A crystal sat at the front of the room. When the reading hit 100, a student qualified as an apprentice beast rider. They tested one by one, 37, 52, 6 to 7 at the best. Quiet disappointment settled across the room. Then word reached them from Class 1. Su Yunyan had just passed the test. She was already heading to the primal wilds for the final trial. The comparison hung in the air unspoken. Lin Shuang Han stepped onto the testing platform last. The crystal erupted in light so intense that people shielded their eyes. When the glare faded, everyone rushed forward to read the number. 100. Exactly 100. The class stared in silence. Lin Shuang Han smiled to herself. After 3 days in the dungeon fighting alongside Kane, reaching this threshold had only been a matter of time. Congratulations, Shuang Han, Zhou Xiaoyan said warmly. But you'll still need to complete the final trial. A task list arrived on Lin Shuang Han's phone on the way to the primal wilds. 5 items. Collect them all within 3 days and the apprentice beast rider badge would be approved. Dappled deer antlers, blood of an elite bound beast, shadow wolf fang, shadow wolf beast crystal, focus blossom. Lin Shuang Han read the list and felt no real concern. None of these should be too difficult. At the outer edge of the primal wilds, over 50 beast riders from various academies had gathered for the same trial. Whatever you do not enter the inner zone, Zhou Xiaoyan warned. The beasts in there are only for advanced or grandmaster tier riders. Lin Shuang Han nodded. She knew. Kane, however, had already taken a long slow sniff of the air and could feel over a dozen incredibly powerful auras radiating from somewhere deep in the forest. Before a supreme dragon bloodline, none of them warranted a second thought. They entered the forest and quickly found the first beast on the list, a vine creeper rabbit lurking in the underbrush. Kane opened its mouth and let primal dragon blaze pour out, a torrent of scorching flame that engulfed the rabbit in one instant. When the fire cleared, there was nothing left but ash. Lin Shuang Han stared. When did you learn to breathe fire? Kane strutted with unconcealed pride. She shook her head in disbelief. Most bound beasts spend their whole lives relying on skill books to get anything close to that. Could this be the ancient dragon blood? Her thought was cut short by a glob of pitch-black mud launching from nearby. Kane dodged just in time and turned to find the source, an iron shell tortoise. Defense extremely high, head retractable, mud attacks on rotation. Kane, aim for the head, and do not incinerate it. If it burns to ash, there's nothing to devour. Kane approached, waited for the mud attack to pass, rushed in with a claw strike. The tortoise yanked its head back inside its shell. Fine. If I cannot hit the head, I will just shatter the shell. Armor break strike activated. The claw came down and the shell exploded apart. Iron shell tortoise slain. Experience plus 30. A level 10 iron shell tortoise, one-shotted. Lin Shuang Han gathered up the shell fragments, noting their value as materials for beast rider armor, while Kane pointed firmly at the meat left behind. She laughed. You little glutton. She loaded the tortoise meat into the roasting grill and started cooking. Kane kept watch, eyes sweeping the tree line. The smell of roasting meat was going to draw attention. Sure enough, a porcupine beast burst from the brush before the meat was even finished. More food delivered right to the doorstep. King clashed with it head-on, and iron scale barrier activated instantly, reflecting a portion of the damage back at the attacker. 25 reflected. This thing had even higher natural defense than the iron shell tortoise. Then the porcupine beast gave a full-body shudder and launched a volley of spines from its back. King, those spines carry poison. Do not let them hit. King had already figured out the answer. It opened its mouth and unleashed a torrent of flame. The spines incinerated before they reached their target, and with its defensive armor gone, the beast was wide open. Rending claw slash connected cleanly. One blow. Done. Porcupine beast slain. Experience plus 29. Level risen to 6. 1 divine rune draw earned. Congratulations! You have obtained Spirit Sight. You can now view detailed information on all beasts and items. Before Kane had even finished reading the description, Lin Shuang Han called out a warning. Kane, more beasts incoming. Perfect timing. Kane activated Spirit Sight on the approaching threat immediately. Beast name, Venom Mist Serpent. HP 100, Level 8, Attack 12. Defense 11, Speed 16, Skill, Venom Spray. Every stat laid out in full, every skill visible. Nothing could catch the dragon off guard from here on. One sweep of primal dragon blaze cleared the field. The surviving beasts scattered into the forest. The meat's ready. Lin Shuang Han waved Kane over. The dragon was already airborne before she finished the sentence. They camped as the sky darkened, and Lin Shuang Han grew quiet. There's so much beast blood lingering here, she said. The shadow wolves will definitely pick up the scent. 1 or 2 would be fine, but if more than 10 show up, things could turn very bad. And then there's the Shadow Wolf King, elite tier, a completely different class of threat. A chorus of howls tore through the night air before she could finish the thought. They're here. The Shadow Wolf King emerged from the tree line slowly, deliberately, and the sight of it made clear immediately why it commanded that level of respect. Its body was far larger than the wolves trailing behind it. A crescent moon mark glowed on its forehead. Nearly 20 shadow wolves fanned out around it. Kane activated Spirit Sight without hesitation. Beast name, Shadow Wolf King, HP 100, Level 15, Attack 48, Defense 39, Speed 41, Skills, Night Claw, Moonlit Blessing, Pack Summon. A true elite tier beast, and those stats were on a completely different level from anything they had faced before. Good, Kane thought. More rewards. Lin Shuang Han activated the barrier shield in front of her, and Kane spread its wings and glided to the front. The Shadow Wolf King howled, and the entire pack surged forward like a flood. Kane sidestepped the charge in an instant, looped around behind one wolf, and raked its claws across its back. Half the wolf's HP vanished in one strike. These shadow wolves were low-level nuisances. The only real threat here was the king. Kane finished the half-health wolf with a clean blow and charged straight for the leader. Several more wolves cut across the path. No choice. Primal Dragon Blaze reduced them all to ash in one pass, and the remaining wolves shrank back in visible fear, all except the king, who had not moved a single step. Then it launched into the air and slashed downward with its claws, attack range massive. King dodged left, but the blow still grazed a wing, drawing blood. The ancient dragon blood seal dewound within seconds. The dragon steadied and turned back to face the king. The Shadow Wolf King appeared behind Kane without warning, and Kane spun, slamming a dragon claw straight into it. The shockwave from the collision sent gusts of wind tearing through the clearing. The king was pushed back and blasted away, but when it landed, its HP had barely moved. Then the crescent moon mark on its forehead began to glow. The wounds on the king's body started closing. Kane, it's absorbing moonlight energy. Do not let it heal. Primal Dragon Blaze launched immediately, but the Shadow Wolf King called a nearby wolf into the fire's path. It was using its own pack as a living shield. With that window of recovery, the king's HP climbed all the way back to 100. Then it howled into the sky, trying to summon more of the pack from the forest beyond. Kane was not giving it that chance. Another blast of Primal Dragon Blaze. The king dodged, but the flames cornered it, cutting off every exit. Armor Break Strike activated. The strike drove home. More than half the Shadow Wolf King's HP vanished in an instant. The king let out an agonizing cry. The moonlight healing could not keep pace with the damage anymore. With one final furious roar, it made its last move, leaping off a tree and launching itself not at Kane, but at Lin Shuang Han. Targeting her instead, the move sent a cold fury through the dragon. Kane gave chase. The king was severely wounded. The gap closed within seconds. One strike, Shadow Wolf King slain. Experience plus 69. Level risen to 7. 1 divine rune draw earned. Congratulations! You have obtained ability Drain. Randomly strips 1 skill from the target. Activation chance 30%. A rune that grew more valuable the stronger the enemy against the right opponent. That 30% could be devastating. The beast crystal was found glowing blue in the grass after a careful search. Lin Shuang Han scooped it up without wasting a second. She collected the fang and blood as well. 3 items off the list. Just the dappled deer antlers and the focus blossom remaining. Lin Shuang Han carved the Shadow Wolf King's meat and made the best meal the primal wilds had offered yet. By the time they were full, the sky was already beginning to brighten. They set out again at first light, tracking the remaining items through the outer edges of the primal wilds. The focus blossom turned out to be easy enough. The dappled deer was another matter. Its antlers carried a strange energy that could dramatically boost one's power when absorbed. Rare enough to draw competition. Near a small pond they finally found tracks, and Lin Shuang Han immediately dropped into a crouch. Chicane, not a sound. Dappled deer are extremely sensitive, but someone else had already spotted the same target. Students from Kang Yong Academy were crouched on the opposite side of the pond, 2 of them. A girl named Zhong Tong and a boy named Han Shukai. They spotted Lin Shuang Han through the brush and dismissed her immediately. Kang Yong Academy, all dead weights. Don't bother. Zhong Tong sent her beast forward first, her flame claw tiger charging to spook the dappled deer and drive it toward Han Shukai's position. Han Shukai had already circled around. His phantom echo bat dropped from above and unleashed a barrage of sonic waves. The dappled deer had no time to react. It took the full hit and collapsed to the ground, dazed. Just as they moved to collect the antlers, Lin Shuang Han whispered from the brush, "King, now, go." King charged straight at the 2 of them. Zhong Tong burst out laughing, trying to swoop in at the last second. "Get lost. Take your pathetic beast and go before my flame claw tiger tears it apart." King activated Spirit Sight on both their beasts without slowing down. Flame Claw Tiger, level 9. Phantom Echo Bat, level 8. Skills laughably behind what they were posturing to have. The dragon rose slowly into the air and released the ancient dragon aura at full force. Both beasts crumpled to the ground instantly, crushed under the weight of that pressure. Completely unable to move, Zhong Tong and Han Shukai tried to step forward and felt that same crushing weight pressed down on their own shoulders, forcing the air from their lungs. In that window, Lin Shuang Han slipped forward quietly and lifted the dappled deer antlers from beside the collapsed animal. "Got them, Kane. Let's move." It was a good while after they were gone before the 2 of them could breathe normally again. What in the world just happened? Zhong Tong managed at last. What kind of beast does that girl have? The focus blossom was found growing along the edge of a shrub cluster in the remaining half-day. Task list complete. But just as the 2 of them were about to move, a roar echoed from somewhere deeper in the forest. Something in Kane's bloodline stirred at the sound. Dragonkin. There was Dragonkin nearby. Lin Shuang Han noticed the reaction and turned toward the source without hesitation. The further they walked, the colder the air became. Ice formed on the rocks underfoot. The temperature dropped with every step. After about 50 meters, the landscape had transformed completely into a frozen wasteland. Kane. Something is off here. A glacial drake emerged from a cave in the mountainside ahead. Lin Shuang Han quietly explained what it was, its serpent-type origins, the brutal difficulty of its evolution, the rarity of surviving long enough to reach that form. Drake class, that explained the bloodline resonance. But the situation was already complicated. Students from multiple academies had converged on the spot. Su Yunyu was among them, watching from a distance, visibly shaken by the glacial drake's presence. Then from above, the hawk-type beast appeared, sweeping down from the sky. Gale hawks, Lin Shuang Han tensed, evolved beasts, natural predators of serpent-type creatures. The glacial drake's natural enemies, and 2 of them at once. Kane, we wait for now. King gestured toward the inside of the cave. Lin Shuang Han understood immediately. There's a nest of young glacial drakes in there. A nod. The sensing was not wrong. The news spread in a whisper through the gathered students. Glacial drake eggs, each one worth $1 million on the open market. The words hit the crowd like lightning, and the smell of money changed everyone's calculations at once. The first galehawk struck. The glacial drake spat a volley of razor-sharp ice spines. The second galehawk spun at high speed, deflecting every spike. while the first circled and carved a deep gash into the drake's back from behind. Watching the drake take damage, the B1 Academy students could not hold back and charged into the open. The temperature around them plummeted before they made it 3 steps. Ice shards rushed toward the glacial drake from every direction, and then a surge of glacial energy detonated outward from its core, freezing everything in range solid. The 2 students were encased in ice. The Gale Hawk shot upward just fast enough to escape. From the tree line, Lin of B1 Academy cursed under his breath and grabbed the others before they could do the same thing. But the moment the drake was occupied with the Gale Hawks again, Lin led his group slipping quietly toward the cave entrance. Now's our chance. Let's go get rich. Su Yunyan watched from her position and shook her head with cold contempt. Idiots. Walking straight into their graves. She glanced at Lin Shuang Han and added, with obvious satisfaction, don't expect anyone to collect what's left of you either. But Lin Shuang Han had already slipped past her and entered the cave with Kane in her arms. Inside the freezing cave, a second glacial drake lay coiled on the ground, barely clinging to life, its body locked in frost, wounds deep and severe. Beside it, 6 unhatched drake eggs rested in the ice. Lin and his group pushed past the injured drake without a second look, grabbed the eggs, and made for the cave entrance. Lin Shuang Han moved to block their exit. Stop right there, you thieves. One of the students snarled back at her. You stay out of this. Get lost. Unnoticed at the back of the cave, Kane approached the glacial drake that was moments from death. There was only one way to save it. The dragon bit into its own claw and let a single drop of blood fall onto the injured creature's body. Since it carried even a trace of dragon bloodline, this should work. The wounds on the glacial drake began closing at a speed that defied explanation. The glacial energy within it surged wildly, stronger and wilder than it had ever been at its peak. The drake that had been moments from death pulled itself fully upright. It lowered its head to Kane. Thank you, Senior. I will never forget this debt as long as I live. Kane gave a casual wave of one claw. No need for formalities. Go. Make those people pay. And the girl at the cave entrance, you are not to harm her. At the cave entrance, one of Li's companions had snapped. Enough with this girl. Tear her apart. He commanded his beast to strike. A massive set of jaws dropped from above and swallowed him in one motion. The others spun around. The glacial drake they had written off as finished was standing behind them, fully recovered, radiating cold fury. Their beast attacked. Not a single blow landed with any real effect. The drake barely flicked its tail and sent every last one of their beasts flying. Lin threw the drake egg down at bitter defeat and bolted out of the cave. With what dignity he had left. Within minutes, Lin Shuang Han was the only one left standing inside. She let out a breath and allowed herself a quiet laugh. Kane's plan had worked. Outside, the Gale Hawks were pressing in for the kill on the male glacial drake. What remained of him barely holding together. But then the female glacial drake burst out of the cave, and the sight of her new power stopped both Gale Hawks in their tracks. Kane stepped out from the cave entrance and released a single dragon's roar. That shook the earth beneath everyone's feet. That was the last straw. Every last trace of the Gale Hawks' fighting spirit collapsed at once. They scattered and fled in every direction without looking back. The male glacial drake was hanging on by the thinnest thread. The female rushed to his side and tried to channel glacial energy to heal him. But what she had was far too little. With no other choice, she came before Kane and lowered her head to the ground. Senior, please save him. I offer my own beast crystal in exchange. Lin Shuang Han watched and felt her heart tighten. Kane, it's so pitiful. Please help it. Well, Kane thought, spreading its claws in theatrical resignation, if she's asking, what choice do I have? Another drop of dragon blood fell. The miracle happened again, faster and more dramatic than the first time. The destroyed parts of the male glacial drake's body began regenerating before their eyes. Scales regrowing, wound sealing, structure rebuilding itself from nothing. Wow, Lin Shuang Han breathed. It's recovering instantly. A few more drops, King noted privately, and these 2 drakes might just break straight into their 3rd evolution. The male glacial drake rose to his feet fully recovered, bowed his head low, and gestured toward the cave. Please come inside. We have something to give you. Deep inside the cave, the glacial drake led them to a solid wall of ice and headbutted it into pieces. The chamber behind it left Lin Shuang Han completely still. Frost iron ore, piled high, glittering in the cold light. A mineral that only formed in extreme frozen environments, rare enough to carry enormous value. It could boost ice-type beasts and be forged into armor with rare elemental properties. King, now we can make your armor. Lin Shuang Han rushed forward to collect it. The female glacial drake brought forward one additional gift. A frost blue herb radiating glacial energy so intense it was almost visible in the air around it. Senior, please accept this small token of our gratitude. Lin Shuang Han's recognition hit immediately. What? This is frost dragon herb, the core material for ice-type serpent beasts breaking through bottlenecks. Remarkably effective against fire-type damage. When embedded in a weapon, it granted a freezing effect. The uses were practically endless. King glanced at the two drakes. Are you certain? Don't you still need this to evolve? The female drake shook her head. With just one drop of your blood, Senior, we no longer need this herb. Then I'll accept it. But as Lin Shuang Han buzzed with excitement over the hall, a realization hit her cold. The 3-day deadline. How far had they come? There was no way they were making it back in time on foot. Senior, the glacial drake said, do not worry. We can carry you back. The next second, Kane and Lin Shuang Han were lifted gently onto the glacial drake's head, and it shot out of the cave like a bolt of lightning. Back at the gathering point, with only 30 minutes left before the deadline, Su Yunyan had arrived first. Zhou Xiaoyan immediately asked after Lin Shuang Han. Su Yunyan smiled coolly. I guess she's inside a glacial drake's stomach by now. Zhou Xiaoyan fired back immediately. You ran into a glacial drake? Shuang Han would never steal eggs. She would never do that. Time will tell, Su Yunyan replied, and said nothing more. Then Kai Lishan staggered out of the forest, battered and barely together, and recounted what had happened to his students inside the cave. His instructor's face darkened to something close to panic. If the principal found out, his position was finished. A disturbance erupted from deep within the forest with only 3 minutes left on the clock. Wei Qianming summoned his beast and moved to shield the students behind him. The glacial drake exploded out of the primal wilds at full speed. Kai Lishan went pale. That's the one that killed our students. Wei Qianming steadied himself. Even you can't handle a glacial drake, someone behind him said. He snapped back. Enough talk. But before anyone could move, the glacial drake slowly lifted its head, and a human figure was visible on top of it. Zhou Xiaoyan pressed a hand to her mouth. Shuang Han? She's alive. She's really alive. The glacial drake had escorted her out of the primal wilds. Su Yunyan's face drained of color completely. Lin Shuang Han patted the glacial drake on the head and slid down from its back. All right, big one. We're here. Thanks for the ride. The glacial drake bowed its head one final time. Your kindness will never be forgotten by our clan. Senior, should you ever need our help, come to the frost cave. Then it turned and disappeared back into the forest. Teacher Zhou, we made it in time, right? Zhou Xiaoyan let out a laugh somewhere between relief and pure joy. 3 minutes to spare. Su Yunyan watched with barely concealed fury. What incredible luck, surviving even that. But even if you somehow manage to control that glacial drake, in 1 month the loser of our duel will still be you. Lin Shuang Han said nothing. She just turned and handed the task list over to her teacher. The next morning, apprentice beast rider badge in hand, Lin Shuang Han walked to the forge hall with Xiao King to commission armor from the frost iron ore they had collected. Hello, she said at the counter. I have frost iron ore. I'd like to forge 3 sets of armor. The receptionist's expression flickered with visible surprise. A full set requires at minimum several hundred pieces of frost iron ore. The forge hall's floor manager, Jin Mao, overheard from across the room and strolled over with contempt already shaping his expression. Roland, your eye for people is terrible. Does she look like someone who can actually produce that much frost iron ore? Lin Shuang Han turned to face him without any particular emotion showing. 1 set of frost iron armor requires 400 pieces, 3 sets, 1,200. If I produce that much, what exactly are you going to do? Jin Mao smirked. Huh? If you actually have it, I'll roll myself out that door. The entire forge hall was watching now. Shuang Han, maybe we should just go, Xiao King murmured. Lin Shuang Han pulled out her storage ring and began pouring frost iron ore onto the floor, piece by piece. The sound of it kept going. No way. Someone near the back said quietly, that much frost iron ore. Jin Mao's smirk faltered. There's no way she has exactly 1,200. He began counting himself, 1 piece at a time. 15 minutes later, his hand was cramping and he was not yet halfway through. Roland counted beside him. We're already at 13,6 to 7, with the rest of the pile. It's probably no fewer than 2,000. The room went quiet. Lin Shuang Han and Xiaoqing stepped aside and opened a clear path to the door. Jin Mao's expression hardened. Don't think being a Kang Yong Academy student gives you the right to act up in here. I'm from the Jin clan. The room went even quieter. Zhuanyuan cities for great clans, the Jin and Zhang and Yi clans. Their word carried absolute authority in the city. But Lin Shuang Han had lived one life long enough to know exactly what the Jin clan was worth. When it mattered, during the beast surge in her past life, while every other great family threw themselves into the fight, the Jin clan turned and fled. A family like that was nothing but a liability. She glanced at Kane. The dragon shot into the air, snatched Jin Mao up in one claw, and hurled him out the door. The forge hall went completely still. She actually did that. Roland shook her head with a helpless laugh and began gathering up the frost iron ore from the floor. Please come back in 3 days to collect your armor. Of course, Lin Shuang Han said, and walked out with Xiaoqing without a backward glance. After parting ways with Xiaoqing, Lin Shuang Han came back to the academy dungeon entrance. Should we do a low-level dungeon again this time? Kane looked at the dungeon map and pointed directly to the mid-level option. The low-level ones were too easy. These were actually worth the effort. Lin Shuang Han selected it without hesitation, and the portal opened around her. Bystanders nearby nearly choked. Mid-level dungeons were for full apprentice beast riders. The beasts inside started at level 15 minimum. News reached Principal Fang Yuan within the hour. He pressed a hand to his forehead. She's being reckless. If her beast level doesn't match up, she could be in real danger. Inside the mid-level dungeon, Lin Shuang Han and Qi materialized in the middle of a vast desert. The air was dry and hot, the sand flat and featureless in every direction. Kane was still taking in the surroundings when the sand directly underfoot shifted. Something had been hiding just beneath the surface. Kane twisted to the side a fraction of a second before the strike connected. Kane, that's a desert venom scorpion. One hit from that thing could cause nerve paralysis. Lin Shuang Han activated her barrier shield and Kane activated spirit sight simultaneously. Desert venom scorpion, level 15, attack 50, defense 37, speed 48, skills, sand pierce, venom sand shield. Higher stats than the Shadow Wolf King, which meant higher experience when it fell. King charged and without hesitation. Claws clashed against the scorpion's twin pincers. An iron scale barrier absorbed most of the force. The dragon kept raking with dragon claws and the HP dropped steadily. Pushed to the edge, the desert venom scorpion began lashing out with its venomous tail spike, stabbing wildly but hitting nothing. King caught the tail, wrenched it clean off, and flattened the scorpion with one decisive strike. Desert venom scorpion slain, experience plus 70, level risen to 8, 1 divine rune draw earned. Congratulations! You have obtained Chaos Master. When attacking or being attacked, 15% chance to inflict chaos on the target. Under chaos, the affected target attacks the wrong target, including itself or random units nearby, for 10 seconds, making enemies turn on each other. The percentage was low, but against the right fight, it would be decisive. Kane hunted more desert venom scorpions through the area without pausing. Another one appeared just meters away. 5 minutes later, it was in pieces. Desert venom scorpion slain, experience plus 70, level risen to 9, 1 divine rune draw earned. Congratulations! You have obtained Devouring Force Evolved, a divine rune evolving a second time. Before, devouring required eating. Now, just killing a beast was enough to trigger a random reward. Keep them coming, Kane thought with genuine excitement, sweeping the desert for anything left to fight. The hunt continued and the rewards piled up, experience flowing in faster than at any point before. And then the sand shifted, not like a scorpion beneath the surface, something much slower, much larger. Kane brought a strike down expecting to end it quickly, but the target only lost 2 points of HP. The thing beneath the sand revealed itself. Kane, careful, that's the Desert Scorpion King. Its venom is incredibly powerful. Do not rush in recklessly. In her past life, Lin Shuang Han had once encountered a beast rider who had bonded with one of these. The power it commanded was extraordinary. From the moment it emerged, its venom blanketed everything within hundreds of meters. Any beast or human who breathed it and was left in a constant state of weakened, bleeding agony. The memory sat heavy in Lin Shuang Han's chest as she watched it rise from the sand. Kane pulled up its stats immediately. Desert Scorpion King, HP 100, level 23, attack 87, defense 134, speed 99, innate talent, innate toxin, skills, sandstorm sting, quicksand trap, venom mist spray, a 15 level gap, stats that push past 100 across the board. This was going to be the most dangerous fight Kane had ever faced. But Kane had faced Dangerous before, and Dangerous had always eventually run out of HP. The Desert Scorpion King moved first, its massive form surging across the sand with unexpected speed. Kane held its ground and met the charge head-on. The collision shook the air. Kane was pushed back several steps, but held firm. Iron Scale Barrier absorbed a portion and reflected a fragment back. But with defense at 134, the reflected damage barely registered. The King's venom mist began spreading outward from its body like smoke, coating the sand. Lin Shuang Han pulled the barrier shield tighter and tried to read the patterns in the King's movement from behind her cover. Kane, it's going to use Sandstorm Sting. Watch the tail. Kane watched the King's tail rise and discharge Primal Dragon Blaze in a wide arc, forcing the King to pull back before the venom mist could fully deploy. The fire cleared a lane through the poison air. Kane drove forward through the gap and connected with Armor Break Strike. The King's defense was extraordinary, but Armor Break Strike did not care about defense. The blow carved off a real chunk of HP. The King flinched for the first time. That single moment of hesitation was all the confirmation Kane needed. This fight was long, and it was going to hurt, but it was winnable. The Desert Scorpion King activated Quicksand Trap, and the ground beneath Kane's feet began shifting, sand pulling downward like a drain. Kane spread its wings and took to the air immediately, firing Primal Dragon Blaze downward as it rose. The flames bit into the King's exposed upper body and the burn began eating through its HP. The King thrashed and lashed upward with his venomous tail, but in the air. Kane's speed was simply faster. Rending Claw Slash activated on the next pass, and the bleeding debuff stacked on top of the burn. 1% of maximum HP per second draining away alongside the ongoing fire damage. But even bleeding and burning, the Desert Scorpion King refused to slow. It stopped trying to hit Kane directly and instead turned on Lin Shuang Han behind her barrier. Kane dropped from the air in a straight dive, body angled like a weapon. Armor Break Strike on the King's back, another massive chunk of HP gone. The King spun and finally landed a proper hit, its pincer connecting with Kane's side. The impact was enormous, but the ancient dragon blood was already working. The wound sealed within seconds, and the Chaos Master Divine rune finally activated. A 15% chance, and the moment the Chaos status landed, the Desert Scorpion King swung its massive tail at its own body. Lin Shuang Han's eyes went wide. It's attacking itself. 10 seconds. 10 full seconds of the King dealing damage to itself while Kane recovered. Watching with cold calculation. The moment Chaos faded, Kane was already moving again. Armor Break Strike. Rending Claw Slash, Primal Dragon Blaze at close range. Point blank into the King's face. The Desert Scorpion King staggered. Its venom mist was thinning. Its HP had crossed the halfway mark and kept falling. It made one final effort, slamming both pincers down in a wide crushing arc. Kane tanked it. Let the strike land. Let the ancient dragon blood seal what it could. Launched off the King's own body with the impact and drove the final blow home from above. Desert Scorpion King slain. The silence that followed was complete. Lin Shuang Han lowered her barrier shield slowly, heart still hammering. Kane, she breathed. That was a level 23 elite tier beast. The dragon turned to look at her, covered in fading wounds that were already closing, and gave a slow, satisfied nod. The system chimed. Level risen to 10. Second evolution now unlocked. 2 divine rune draws earned. 2 draws at once. Kane accepted both without hesitating. First draw. Congratulations. You have obtained Ancient Dragon Presence. Passively radiates an aura that suppresses all non-dragon bloodline creatures within range. Second draw. Congratulations. You have obtained Primal Regeneration Evolved. Healing speed dramatically increased. Regeneration now also restores a small amount of HP during combat with every attack landed. Lin Shuang Han read the descriptions over Kane's shoulder and had to sit down. Passive suppression on everything nearby. Healing that compounded with every strike in a fight. She thought about the duel that was still coming, 1 month away. Su Yun Yan and her Phoenix bloodline beast, confident and celebrated by everyone at the academy. And then she looked at the dragon sitting beside her in the middle of a mid-level dungeon, fresh off defeating a creature 15 levels above its own. She had bet everything on this egg when the entire world dismissed it as a dead shell. The principal, the teachers, the other students, even the powerful figures who had gathered in the sky above the bonding ceremony. Not one of them had seen what she had seen. But that was fine. That was always fine. The world would see it eventually. They always did, right around the moment it was too late to do anything about it. On the dungeon scoreboard back at the academy, Kane's name did not yet exist in any category anyone recognized. There were no records for a juvenile dragon, no comparison point, no precedent, no framework for what it would become. 30 days remained until the duel that would decide who stayed at Kang Yong Academy. Su Yunyan spent those days training with the pride of someone who had already won. Lin Shuang Han spent them the same way she had spent every day since the bonding ceremony. Hunting, leveling, feeding Kane everything she could find, watching the system chime with rewards that no one else in the world could see or understand. The day of the duel arrived without ceremony. The academy gathered in the arena, and Su Yunyan stepped out first, the phoenix bloodline beast gleaming at her side, drawing murmurs of awe from the crowd. Lin Shuang Han stepped out second, King perched on her shoulder. The crowd looked at the black dragon and thought what they had thought since the bonding ceremony. A dead egg, a strange beast, a mistake. And then King opened its wings. The ancient dragon presence activated the moment King's full attention fixed on the phoenix. Across the arena, the entire crowd felt it hit, a pressure that bypassed thought and landed somewhere older and more instinctive than reason. The phoenix hesitated for just one breath. That was the moment Lin Shuang Han had known was coming since the day she picked up that black egg. In the wild beast hollow, not a god-tier beast, Su Yunyan had mocked, back on bonding day when the world still believed that. No, not god-tier. Something the world had never seen before and would not be ready for, no matter how much time it had to prepare. The black dragon spread its wings in the silence of the arena, and for the first time since the bonding ceremony, everyone finally understood what Lin Shuang Han had seen all along.